Welcome once again to the Dr. Sky Experience, wishing each and every one of you the best for a happy new year of health and happiness, and above all, clear skies as we welcome in the year 2025. Yes, you're listening to me, Dr. Sky, on Talk Radio 77 WABC. We like to call it the crown jewel of radio, heard in some 173 countries and all 50 states, beaming out of New York City, the nation, the world, and I'm sure out into the cosmos. Here on Red Apple Audio Network, as we continue our countdown of what you can see, no matter where you're living, if you have good opportunities for clear skies, we welcome you to January 2025. And let's begin with Earth's nearest neighbor, the moon. We find out as this particular month opens up, right after January 1st, we find the moon just coming as a very, very thin waxing crescent. Remember last month in our Dr. Sky Experience episodes, we talked about the definition of a black moon. And that, according to many in the astrological and astronomical world, is the second new moon in a month. So as we begin January, we find the moon racing on to its first quarter on the 6th. That's a great time, in my opinion, to observe many of the surface features on the moon. The reason being, you'll see a straight, half-lit moon. But along that light and dark line called the Terminator, get out those binoculars and telescopes, and I'm hoping that you got one of those, or know somebody who did during the holidays. The experience will literally be out of this world. I'm Dr. Sky, your navigator on the highway to the heavens, continuing our discussion for the waxing moon of January. We find out after that date of the 6th of January, the moon moves to a position we call gibbous. It looks egg-shaped, racing on to the beautiful full moon that will occur, as we call the first full moon of 2025, on the evening hours of the 13th of January, the beautiful full wolf moon. And there's something very special to talk about that particular full wolf moon, because on that particular date across much of North America, and in our next Dr. Sky episode update, we'll give you more precision and times about a very special event that I hope you and your family will get to experience. What's that? There'll be a rare eclipse of the beautiful full wolf moon. As you'll notice, just to the left edge of the moon on that date in the early evening, the red god of war, the planet Mars, will be easily seen and eclipsed by the moon. Now, how about that for an experience almost of a lifetime? We'll talk a little bit more about the position of Mars and why it's important not only in astronomy, but in other circles around the world as it gets closest to us on the evening of January the 12th. Some 57 million miles away. Sounds a far distance, doesn't it? But actually, this is an actually decent opposition of Mars, and more on that when we talk planets. But to conclude about the moon, after the 13th, the moon then wanes, moving on to its last quarter by about the 21st of January. And we talk about that as the opposite side of the moon is in darkness compared to a first quarter moon. So if you're an early riser, you'll be able to see that particular moon just as you rise high up into the southeastern part of the sky. And then, of course, as the moon continues to wane, we move on to another of the new moons on January the 29th. But here we talk about planets, the Greek word planeteos, wandering stars to the ancients. What can you see? By now, we've talked about it, and hopefully with great precision. In the early evening sky after sunset, the unmistakably brightest planet of all is the planet Venus. Did you know that it reaches its greatest eastern elongation, meaning on the left side of the setting sun, by the 9th of January? Now, this particular planet, Venus and Mercury, even closer to the sun, they only get so far away from the sun because they're inferior planets, meaning they're closer in than we are. So you'll be able to see Venus at its greatest elongation by the 9th, a sight not to miss. Continuing to the left along the ecliptic, that is the zodiac sign path, we come across the planet Saturn. Visible to the naked eye, but a telescope will show you nearly edge-on rings, and that will happen the rings might even disappear just for a short time as we move into March of the new year 2025. Much more on that in future Dr. Sky Experience updates. But by now, folks, I'm sure you've heard. One of the most brilliant planets of all is the planet Jupiter, high into the northeast sky as the sun sets. And I implore you, if you have a pair of binoculars or even a moderate telescope, now is the time to enjoy the beauty of the giant god Zeus, as they called it in the Greek and Roman empires of days gone by. The planet Zeus, as we call it, the planet Jupiter, the god of gods, Zeus. It has a beautiful series of satellites that you can see. These are the original Galilean satellites. And if you'd like to learn more about the positions of how to find and what satellites you're seeing, go to a website called shallowjupiter.com. And you'll be able to see what I'm talking about right in front of your eyes. You can watch these different, satellites move across the disk of Jupiter and left and right. Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. Well, folks, we probably saved the best for last, at least in my opinion, Dr. Sky's opinion. In the month of January, the planet that will get more recognition, I guess, than all the others is the red god of war, the planet Mars. As mentioned earlier in this report, Mars reaches its closest approach to the Earth this time, meaning in this period of what we call an apparition. We find out that Mars will be some 57 million miles away from the Earth. Now, that may sound terribly far away. But if you look at the planet Mars, which is over maybe just about 4,300 miles in diameter, in the telescope, you should be able to see the northern polar cap with ease, but do it soon, because on Mars, during these closer approaches, when it gets closer to the Sun and the Earth, vast dust storms can appear at any time on the surface of Mars. And what does that mean? It blocks out a lot of the sighting of surface features on the planet. So, without reiterating, the planet Mars comes closest to the Earth January the 12th, and it reaches opposition on January the 16th. Now, opposition is when it's right at its best. In other words, it's fully illuminated like a full moon would appear, and in our skies the entire night. Now, over the month of December, you may have noticed something strange with Mars. We talk about planets as they move through the zodiac. They move to the left in the sky through the zodiac each year. But planets that are farther away from the Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and so forth as we go out into the solar system, can do something called retrograde. So simply what I'm saying is Mars has been moving to the west through the constellations, and you'll find it not only in Cancer, the crab, but it's seemingly moving to the right in the nighttime sky, very slowly, mind you. But this retrogression ends by February the 24th. So simply, without a lot of words, take a look at this particular planet Mars. A great sight to see, ladies and gentlemen, and something that I hope none of you miss. Because remember, mankind has always had a fascination with the red god of war, Mars. It started a long time ago, of course, with the ancients, but here in Arizona, where I'm broadcasting from, a very, very interested, future astronomer, as he would call himself, Percival Lowell, left his business in the Northeast to set up an observatory here in Flagstaff, Arizona. It's simply called, obviously, the Lowell Observatory. And he himself had a passion for observing Mars. And what he saw through his telescope was quite amazing. At least that's what he thought. He saw the shrinking of the polar caps, the areas that looked darker like continents or growth, as he might have thought, maybe vegetation. There were these series of lines that he saw that he believed were canals. In other words, an intelligent civilization must have created those. We find out on Mars, no disrespect to Percival Lowell, that what he might have seen was literally floaters in his eye. Now, that may sound rather strange, but we give great credit to great astronomers like Percival Lowell for giving us the impetus to want to explore these planets, as Elon Musk hopes to go someday with SpaceX to send humans to the planet Mars. He wrote a number of books, and one of the books that he happened to write was Mars, the Abode of Life, where he believed that Mars had some sort of intelligent life. But look at all the movies and different depictions of, quote, little green men or invaders from Mars. We've come a long way since then. Mars is very interesting. Its polar caps are not water ice, but frozen carbon dioxide, and the surface temperatures on Mars are certainly not like that of the Earth. The main constituent in the atmosphere is carbon dioxide, as opposed to here with us, having a great concentration of oxygen necessary for life. Well, folks, that's interesting, at least I believe it is, of what's happening in January skies. But how about one that will happen in just a few days? During the early morning hours of January the 3rd, again, no moon in the sky when this will take place, we're talking about a very unusual meteor shower called the Quadrantids. What are they? This particular region of the sky These meteors come from an ancient constellation which is no longer there, which was called Quadrans Muralis. It was some sort of a measuring device, like a ruler. Believe it or not, they had so many of these inanimate objects in the heavens. But more precise to the point, every year around the morning of January the 3rd, and this year is good because there'll be no moon, if you're looking from the evening hours of January the 2nd into the morning of the 3rd, and I'm going to give this prediction, this meteor shower can be very, very strange. It can peak up for about 5 or 6 hours, maybe send 100 meteors our way, or maybe none at all. So if you're out there in the cold, dress warm, and patience is a virtue when it comes to observing meteors. The quadrantid meteor shower of this particular year, during the early morning hours, I would say from about 1 a.m. till sunrise, if you can endure that extreme cold, or wherever you're listening, it may be a pleasant experience. Good luck with seeing the quadrantids. And don't forget, you can email me any questions that you might have or comments to Dr. Sky Show, that's DRSKY Show at gmail.com. And don't forget, listen to us here every Sunday with owner and operator John Katzimatidis on his great show that goes not only around the New York metro area, but all over the world, the Katz Roundtable, with great updates from the realms of astronomy, space, aviation, and weather. I'm proud to be part of the team at Talk Radio 77 WABC, and every other Wednesday morning at 1 a.m., great broadcaster, legendary broadcaster Frank Morano shares with me the hour of the air as we change the name of the radio show, albeit temporarily, from The Other Side of Midnight to Cosmic Conversations. I'm Dr. Sky, wishing you and your family the best for health and happiness, clear skies. And Dr. Sky reminds everybody to always remember to keep your eyes to the skies, as I'm your humble navigator on the highway to the heavens. Many great things to occur. And how about a lunar eclipse, a total lunar eclipse, coming up in March of this year? Have a great day.